Blair Crawford, a journalist for the Ottawa Citizen, wrote this article on December 17th, 2022. Lanark County is the first municipality in Ontario to name femicide as an epidemic, adopting the recommendation of last spring's coroner's inquest into the 2015 triple murders of Carol Culleton, Natalie Warmerdam, and Anastasia Kuzik. Wednesday night's motion at Lanark County Council came the same day that police charged a 41-year-old man with second-degree murder in the killing of Summer Baudot. The 39-year-old Deep River woman is the third Renfrew County woman to die at the hands of a man this year. In Ottawa, 5 women have been killed by men this year, and the body of a 6th, Mary Papatsy, was found buried at a Vanier building site. She had been missing since 2017. Baudot's death adds to the sad tally in Ontario, where 52 women have been killed by men in the past 52 weeks, Lee said. Naming femicide for what it is, a woman killed by a man because she is a woman, is the first step in bringing that change, she said. Our campaign is see it, name it, change it. So when you see that kind of violence, you need to be able to name it, and that's the way we create change in our system. Our county council recognized the significance of a rural inquest and the opportunity it presents to the community, Lee said. We hope that this will draw some attention and apply pressure to other counties to do something as well. Summer Baudot will be honored Monday night at a candlelight vigil at the Deep River Library, along with 2 other Renfrew County women who died in 2022. On January 4th, Sarah McKetty, 32, was found badly beaten in her home in Arnprior. She was airlifted to a hospital in Ottawa, where she died 14 days later. On February 19th, 29-year-old Jordana Yarabuski was killed on Highway 17. Her partner, Cole Allard, was charged with manslaughter and dangerous operation of a vehicle causing death. Police have released no details of her death, but Yakabuski's name has been added to a memorial to the victims of femicide in Renfrew, said Joanne Brooks, director of Renfrew County's End Violence Against Women Committee. It's not identified as femicide. However, folks folks, however, who are in the know say, of course it is. And her family gave permission for Jordana's name to be inscribed, Brooks said. It's very telling when a family says, yes, please put my daughter's name on the rock. The body of Baudot, the 39-year-old mother of 3, was discovered on December 11th in Deep River. Her younger sister, Ashley, was killed in Ottawa in 2010, the victim of murder-suicide by her partner at the time. Her brother, Christopher Halliday, described Summer as loving, courageous, charismatic, and humble in wanting the simple things in life and to have a decent home, a healthy family, and friends, and make memories along the way. I believe in my heart that not enough attention is being brought to this type of violence towards women in our society. Halliday wrote in an email, I only hope that something can be brought to light with our family's loss to help prevent someone else from facing this type of nightmare, he said, adding that this was written not just for our loss of Summer, but for the memory of Ashley as well. Brooks said she hoped the Lanark County motion will encourage more people to talk about intimate partner violence and the term femicide. That hasn't been said in the past. It's always been violence against women, or it's a crime of passion. But to name it as femicide opens the doorways to conversation that may not have happened before. People are going to ask, femicide? What's that? And they're really actually learning more about the targeted attack on women. For Summers' family to experience 2 femicides within their circle, 2 daughters, this is beyond words, Brooks said. For the community, this is a lifetime pall of sorrow.
In the days leading up to that first Sunday in May, the trees in front of the church I served in Ottawa looked like this. Patrick, if we could have the slide. We'll get there. There we go. Of course, that's just 2 red dresses hanging from branches. You notice that in early May, there are only a few buds on the trees. But by the time Sunday came around, there would be 30 to 40 red dresses of all sizes hung on tree branches, fluttering in the breeze. It was always a beautiful scene, but it masked a stark, far from beautiful reality. The dresses represented Indigenous women who had gone missing or been murdered. The spring breezes made the dresses flutter, but couldn't bring them back. As welcome as the spring breezes were in what they call the Great White North, they didn't have that kind of power. They were left empty dresses where living women should have been. The practice of hanging dresses from tree branches began in 2016, inspired by a Métis artist named Jamie Black. In 2010, she created an installation at the University of Winnipeg of empty red dresses hanging to symbolize Indigenous women lost to violence. On the first Sunday of May was chosen for a specific reason for the annual red dress or redress as well. May 5th was the birthday of a young Lisa Marie Young, who at the age of 21 disappeared under suspicious circumstances from her home in Nanaimo, British Columbia in 2002. To this day, the RCMP, Canada's Mounties, their national police force, have made no progress in the case of her disappearance. All of that is a little background for you this morning. Here's a bit more. About a year into my 4 years with our sibling congregation in Ottawa, a former board member called me with a proposal. His name is Irvin Waller. I knew him. He was one of the first members of the congregation I met when I arrived. His name will not likely be familiar to you, but he's written books and consulted internationally on how to reduce violent crime. When I first met him, I told him of some of the interfaith work I had done in Columbus, Ohio, to help pressure that city to try a new way of addressing gun violence based on the work of a man from Boston, David Kennedy, who I realized mid-sentence Irvin may have seen as either a colleague or perhaps even a competitor. Anyway, Irvin was calling to float an idea by me. Every couple of years, the congregation in Ottawa would choose a new focus, an overall focus for its justice work. When I arrived, that focus was environmental justice, educating and mobilizing to combat climate change. At the time of his call, the congregation would be asked to vote on a new focus a few months away. Irvin asked me point blank, "What about ending violence against women?" It seemed so outlandish, so impossible, I shined his idea on, and have been ashamed of my response ever since. That Irvin chose a line from Nelson Mandela as the opening epigraph to his book, Science and Secrets of Ending Violent Crime, and this is Nelson's quote, Nelson Mandela's quote, "It always seems impossible until it's done," only deepened my shame. In time, I called Irvin back to apologize and preached a year ago this Sunday on my error. I could at least have taken Irvin's idea to the congregation's justice team. Also, the work that I was involved in Columbus led me to a faulty assumption about the violence against the Indigenous women in Canada. In Columbus, most of the gun shootings were the result of black-on-black crime. I used that lens to help me understand the missing and murdered women in Canada. That was a big mistake. Most of those women went missing or were killed outright by men who looked a lot like me. I try to learn from my mistakes. We do our best. Hearkening back to the quote from Shakespeare's play, Much Ado About Nothing, that is my title for you today, "What men dare do, what men may do, what men daily do, not knowing what they do." He wrote those words in about 1598. They could have been written this morning, as far as I'm concerned. What men dare do, what men may do, what men daily do, not knowing what they do. Oh, there's some truth there. But it's not all true. I've been a man since my boyhood ended, parentheses, if it has. And so I think I have some experience to bring to this. Men do lots of things, don't we? But we don't know what we do? Sure, there's lots we glance over every day. My wife, Anne, can tell you an enormous list of what I am blind to day to day. But on the big stuff, we know what we do. We know what we do. And we shouldn't get a pass on any of it. Now, maybe Indigenous women in the United States aren't going missing or are murdered at the rate they are, and our neighbor to the north, frankly, I haven't researched it. I'm sure others have. but women certainly are victims of male violence here as well. In Canada, as the reading Daryl shared with us earlier demonstrates, courts and police agencies have begun using the term femicide. I've never heard that word used in the States outside classes on human sexuality. Of course, the experience of you may differ from that. I'm curious. The violence against women I know of most often talked about here in the States is sexual violence. We don't have to look far for examples. Jeffrey Epstein, the allegations made against Eric Swalwell, the list goes on and on. Most of us, if not all, will have stories, either firsthand stories or from people we know and love or care for. Years after we parted ways, my first love and I had a dinner to reconnect. Lise was trying to tell me something serious using a phrase I heard vague. She said, "I became a statistic." I am not proud of how long it took me to realize she was trying to tell me that she had been raped. But I got there in the end. And then there was my coworker, Stephanie. Stephanie and I began work a week apart in the mailroom of a large financial services firm in downtown Minneapolis. We never dated, but this is the closest I have ever come to living out the old phrase, opposites attract. She was opinionated and sure of herself. I had just graduated as an undergraduate, and beyond knowing that I knew I wasn't mature enough to pursue ministry quite yet, had no idea what direction I should be putting my life in. Stephanie and I were often late from our lunch hours in which we debate and argue, all while trying to figure out how to launch the rest of our lives. And then, early one perfectly sunny, blue sky, late May morning, walking to work from where the bus dropped me off, early in the morning, I heard a scream. A woman's scream, louder than that. While I heard it clearly, the sound was bouncing off the downtown buildings. I couldn't tell where it was coming from. It might be coming from there, so I ran a block in that direction. Nothing. The scream again, maybe that way. When I got there, nothing once more. As much as I wanted it to leave for someone else to take care of, I couldn't do nothing. I had to try to help, though I had no idea what I might do if I found whatever was going on. Finally, the screams stopped, and I gave up searching and went to work, arrived a little late. But Stephanie wasn't there. She came in close to lunchtime and left shortly after. It had been Stephanie I had heard screaming. Well, I cannot call her lucky. And though bloodied by the struggle, Stephanie had been fortunate to be able to fight off her attacker. Not everyone is able to fight back. Could I have done more? I'll never know. What I do know is that men have work to do. There are conversations we need to have. We need to do something that may seem impossible and hold each other accountable for what we do. Now, it may seem like I'm preaching to the choir here. Maybe I am. Not blaming anyone here. What I'm saying is men need to hold one another accountable. At Books on B this week, in order to order books that I'll be presenting as gifts to new members a couple weeks from today, this book was on display at eye level. Giselle Pellicot's book, Hymn to Life. You may remember that She was the woman who successfully brought to court her husband and 50 of his dear friends. He raped her, and he drugged her and raped her. And Europe will never be the same because of this woman's courage. See it, name it, change it. I wasn't going to read this book. I wasn't going to buy it. And then I noticed the subtitle, Shame Has to Change Sides. It's time for men to feel the shame of what they do instead of women feeling shame of what's perpetrated upon them. As a community of faith, we can help raise men less disposed to lashing out, men more in touch with their feelings, who are both willing and able to take responsibility for their actions. Men willing to say to their brothers, no, there's a better way, let's talk. If you have a story that you need to share, please reach out to someone you feel you may be able to trust, whoever it may be. May all remembered, said, and done this morning be in service to speeding the day to come in which we are finally able to say with conviction as well as promise, no more. Remember, it always seems impossible until it's done. So may it be. Amen.